Hello everyone and welcome back to Sayanti Finance. In today's video we are going to talk about blending oil pastels. I already have a video where I have shared my two top ways of how I blend with oil pastels, which I'll link below in the video description. But I thought I will go in length and talk about all the 8 different ways and that you could use to blend oil pastels, and I will also share some additional tips and techniques regarding what to do and what not to do. So let's get started. First and foremost, the most common way to do it is to use the pastel sticks themselves. Now you can see that I have laid down the colors yellow, red and brown, or whatever it is called. Yeah, it's called brown, side by side. Now I am going to use the same pastel sticks and going to blend one color into another. How to do that? Go from the lighter side into the darker areas slowly and keep going. I'll come back with the red now and then go into the brown area, and finally I will come back with the brown and mix all the three together, and you see it's blended pretty nicely. So this is one way, and this is the most tried and tested and easiest way without using anything at all, and I like this way a lot and often use this. Now there is also one kind of pastel stick which is called the pastel extender, which pretty much looks like your white pastel sticks. This one is a little old, and but what it does is that it doesn't have any color pigment in it, not even white, so you can easily blend one color into another. The only issue with this particular method is that you see this, we are building the residue of the darker colors and the light colors, so you have to make sure that you go from the light towards the dark to keep your colors pure, and also you have to keep a rag or a paper towel handy and clean your pastels often so that you do not mix the colors. So that's the first way. Now let's talk about 4 different kind of tools that you may use. First is your fingers. As cooks would often say that your hands are your best tool, so your fingers should be. And technically speaking, it works out fine. You go from the lighter to the darker areas and keep blending. And you'd get a pretty nice blend using your fingers lightly or putting a little bit of extra pressure, and you will get a nice blend. But what the issue is that this being an oil-based paint stick, there is some residue left on your finger. So no matter how well I clean my fingers, there is still a little bit of residue left. So if I go over my lighter areas, they can get a little bit blemished. So there is a good possibility of creating mud this way. The next method that I'm using, or rather the tool that I'm using, is a plain clean rag. You have to make sure that the rag is clean, and what you do is I have laid white, blue and dark blue colors side by side, and you go from lighter areas to the darker areas, continue going, and you get that blended look that you're looking for. So this is one of my most favorite methods, which is all you do is once one area gets paint on it, you move on to the other area and wrap your finger around it and keep moving. And rags are pretty handy in your house, so it's very cost effective, and it's a very useful method too. I like this tool a lot. Next tool is your handy dandy blending stump. So what you do is you go over the areas nice and gentle, again from light towards the dark. That pretty much applies for no matter what tool or what method you are using. You pretty much always will go from light to dark and blend together. Now this works wonderfully and it doesn't get your hands dirty or anything. The only problem is to clean the tip of this. And for that, no matter how much you clean with a rag, it will still have a residue. You can see that it will give you a little bit of color on the paper, even after cleaning. But what you can do is use a piece of sanding block and rub the tip against it, and that will clean it pretty good. So that's an alternative idea about it. The next thing is to use a tool called Color Shaper. Pretty much looks like a paintbrush. Instead of this brush on top of it, it has a little small rubber silicone top. It is actually a clay modeling tool, but it works wonderfully for blending oil pastels. I can't find mine, so I cannot show you one, but I will link it in the video description below. So go and check it out. Now the last section, blending using different kinds of solvent. This is one of my favorite methods by using an odorless paint thinner. I use the Mona Lisa odorless paint thinner. It is works similarly as your Gamsol does. And what I do is I pour it out in a container with a nice lid, as it would otherwise vanish if I don't have that lid. And then I use a random paintbrush. The damaged one would do fine, and dip it gently, and then dab out that excess paint in a rag or a paper towel, and then go again from light to the darker areas. And you see that this is probably the best blending you can ever get with oil pastels. It's just smooth, doesn't leave any areas, and also you can get nice fine details with the paint left on your paintbrush, because now you're using a paintbrush. So that's an additional tip, you may say. Now, instead of using your paint thinner, you can also use linseed oil, and I will link both the paint thinner and the linseed oil in the video description below. And it would work just the same. Pour it out in a container. This one does not vanish, so you're fine. Use a paintbrush and then blend your colors. So that works wonderfully too.
Lastly, I would like to mention the other different kinds of solvents that I have tried or I have seen other people try, like cooking oil, like your regular safflower oil, or coconut oil, or baby oil. These are the three things that I have seen other people use, and I have tried using them too for blending oil pastels, and they lay down the same way as your odorless mineral spirits or your linseed oil does. But if you ask me personally, I do not recommend these, because these products are not created to be art products. So if you are creating your art to last for a long time, or if you're gifting it to somebody, or even more importantly, if you're selling your art to somebody, you want to make sure that all the products that you're using are archival, and the art that you're selling or gifting stays the same for years to come, and people don't come back with issues like yellowing, fading, and not being light fast and all that. So that's why I do not recommend them. But if you're just trying out new methods, and if it's just your hobby and you like to play around with different things, feel free to go ahead and give them a try. So I think I went over all the 8 methods along with a lot of additional tips and tricks. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this video. Check out my other blending video as well, and I will see you soon with more tips, tricks, information, and tutorial every Wednesday and Friday. Thank you.